My FPL Game Week 9 team selection. In this video, we're going to take a look at a couple of my ideas for transfers. We're going to look at some of the teams and their upcoming fixtures. Arsenal have great run of fixtures coming up for them. Chelsea as well. We're going to also look at a couple of Crystal Palace assets, likes of Ismail Assad, Philip Mateta, who banged the hat-trick over the weekend. We're also going to look at West Ham's form. As opposed to their run of fixtures. They do have a couple of decent fixtures coming in for them. We're also going to look at a few players like Bruno Fernandes, Mbuemo, Cunha, the Man U attack in general, whether they are worth having now they have played most of the big six teams in the Premier League, and just what it means. All this we're going to talk about in my Game Week 9 team selection. What's up, guys? So before we jump into that, let's look at how my team fared in Game Week 8. My team scored a total of 66 points, a slight green arrow to push me into the 2 million mark. I had Raya in goal, who kept a clean sheet against Fulham, returning 6 points. Gabriel with an assist to return 12 points for me, and a couple of bonus points as well. I've been really pleased since I made the swap from Van Dijk to Gabriel. Arsenal have been really solid this season, conceding just 3 goals so far in their 12 games this season. So I'm really pleased to have the double Arsenal defensive setup. I also had Munoz, who returned 2 assists and a bonus point in that 3-3 thriller against Bournemouth. It was a spectacular game. A real and well fought comeback for Crystal Palace in that game. Van de Ven with a 0-pointer, very disappointed. I don't think I've owned him for any of his hauls so far this season. It's been really disappointing. He's one I'm actually keeping my eye on. I may possibly move on from him to the likes of possibly Senesi when I can free up the funds. I do have 2 free transfers, like I said. And my 4th defender was Tosin, who came off the bench and returned just the 1 point in Chelsea's 3-0 win over Nottingham Forest. It was quite unfortunate. I was hoping he would get the start and could have gotten that clean sheet. But onto my midfield, I had Kudus, who returned 2 points. Couldn't keep up the goal scoring from the previous game when he scored against Leeds. He did get a goal which got ruled out for offside, but yeah. Salah returning 2 points. One I was quite disappointed with, seeing his terrific record against Manchester United, but they lost that game 2-1, their first home defeat to Manchester United since 2016, and Salah looked really awful in that game. But moving on to my midfield, I also had Semenyo, who returned an assist. Could have been 2 assists, but we didn't get this first assist for Krupi's goal awarded to him, so he returned just 4 points. Reinders, who got hooked before the 60-minute mark to return 1 point in my team. Up front, I had João Pedro, who has not yet registered a shot on target in his last 5 games for Chelsea. Very frustrating to have him at the moment. I'm just hoping that things begin to look up nice for him, because they have a really great run of fixtures that I wouldn't mind holding him for. So yeah, also I have Erling Haaland, who was my captain and returned 2 goals and 3 bonus points in the game against Everton to give Man City a win in that game. So he returned 26 points. I also had Dubravka on my bench, who returned 9 points. I was really conflicted on whether I should go ahead to start Dubravka or Raya, but Arsenal's defense has just been really good this season, and it felt like a bigger risk not having that double up of Arsenal's defense. And to be honest, I didn't expect Burnley to keep a clean sheet against Leeds, so fair play to them, honestly. 9 points for Dubravka on my bench. I was also this close to actually using my bench boost. Don't know if I would have regretted that, seeing that my bench returned 14 points. Not really bad compared to a couple of other people that have been boosted recently. Josh King returned 2 points on my bench, Goodmanson 1 point, and Beto 2 points. Beto could have actually gotten a goal in that City game. I think he missed an empty net or something from an Ndiaye cross. So, but yeah, 66 points, a very small green arrow. A decent game week, honestly. Could have scored a lot more, but we'll take it as it comes, and we look forward to my Game Week 9 team selection. In Game Week 9, as always, I'm going to go with Raya in goal. Like I said, Arsenal have had a really great run defensively this season, conceding just 3 goals is mind blowing in my opinion, and I think they should be able to continue this form against Crystal Palace. Although we know Crystal Palace to be a really stubborn side, and I have a feeling that Crystal Palace may get something in this game. Their games against Crystal Palace are always it's always a game that leaves you on the edge of your seat. And yes, they've lost a couple of players that give them firepower, like Eze and Olise in the past 2 seasons, but it doesn't look to be slowing them down. They still look really formidable, and I think it's going to be a really tough game for Arsenal. Do I see them keeping a clean sheet? On a scale of 100, I would put it at about 65%. But I'm going to go with Raya and goal, as well as Gabriel as my first starting defender. I am also going to start Munoz just because I love the position he plays and occupies for Crystal Palace at the moment, playing as a full right wing back, almost as a winger for Crystal Palace, getting in there, getting those assists, possible DEFCON. I think this is a match he may even be able to hit DEFCON, just because we know that Arsenal are going to keep most of the possession and try to, get the most out of every attack that they have going forward. So I'm going to start Munoz in this game. It is risky, but I just like the appeal that he has going forward. Van de Ven is going to be my third defender away at Everton. I think Everton get something out of this game. I don't think Tottenham keep a clean sheet, but just compared to the likes of starting Goodmanson, who is at home to West Ham, I think West Ham will look at this game as a game where they can begin to try to get something, try to come back, into the season. I don't know that Leeds will keep a clean sheet. Moreover, I usually don't like early fixtures, right? Because it just could go either way. So I am not really comfortable starting Goodmanson. I am also tempted to start Beto, but I just don't know what his minutes are going to be like. So it's a 50-50 for me on that path. And then my fourth defender is Tosin at home to Sunderland, whom I'm also hoping gets a start in this game, seeing as he started their game against Ajax and played full 90 minutes. Chaluba got rested, Achampong got rested, so there is a slight possibility that those two start the game against Sunderland. So I am a bit worried about that. But if I'm not so certain, I do think I may bench one of them and bring Goodmanson into the side just because. And in my midfield, I have Kudus away at Everton. Hopefully he's able to get something out of this game. He's also one that has actually been frustrating to own, despite the fact that he returned against Leeds a couple of weeks back, but he just seems to be there before the actual chances do come into play, and then they score. He creates the big chances. He hardly ever gets the assist or gets the goal, so it's very frustrating owning him most of the time. But Everton will look to try and get a win in this game. I believe Tottenham would also try to do the same after they lost to Villa over the weekend. So I'm going to be holding on to Kudus. I have used one of my free transfers, and I have sold Salah from my team and brought in Saka because I like Arsenal's run of fixtures, and Arsenal have scored from set pieces in their last 3 games. Saka is on corner, he's on corner duties. He looks to be, on penalties as well. I think it's just a really good own for me at the moment. We haven't seen him return a mega haul yet. I do think it's coming. He has a slightly decent record against Crystal Palace as well, so I don't mind getting him ahead of Gyökeres at the moment. I also have Semenyo at home to Forest. I think Bournemouth get a win in this game. Semenyo goes back to goal scoring form. And my fourth midfielder is Reinders at away to Villa. He did get rested in their UCL game, got hooked before the 60-minute mark in their last Premier League game, but I think he gets a start in this game. I feel Guardiola would want a little bit more legs going into this game. It's always a tough game for City away at Villa Park, so I do think Reinders gets a start in this game. Up top, I'm going with João Pedro at home to Sunderland. I hope he's able to get back to goal scoring form in this game. It's not always an easy game against Sunderland. They've looked really decent, after coming back from the Championship into the Premier League this season. So I hope João Pedro does get something out of this game. He is one I am keeping an eye out for in the coming weeks. Just may, transfer him out if I just don't see any positivity coming from him in the coming game weeks. Also, I have Erling Haaland, who is my captain away at Aston Villa. He has a good record against them. Hopefully, his goal scoring form continues. My vice captain is on Bukayo Saka at the moment. On my bench, I have Josh King away at Newcastle, Goodmanson at home to West Ham, and Beto at home to Tottenham. Now, a couple of transfers I have in mind for my second free transfer and the possible -4, but I don't see that happening. I am really considering going from Beto to Bowen because I have 4.4 million in my bank. And like I said, I don't really like the early fixtures, but it just looks like a no-brainer if you look at West Ham's next 3 to 4 fixtures. And with the new managerial bounce, yes, you can say new manager came in about 3 game weeks ago, but I think West Ham will find form very soon. And when best to find form than in these next 3 games that are coming up. So at the moment, I am looking at the likes of Bowen for Beto. I'm also considering, getting the likes of Paqueta for Josh King. We saw Paqueta play as a false 9, and he's on penalties for West Ham. So I have those 2 players in mind for my second free transfer. I also have the likes of Mbeumo and Bruno, who I can bring in to replace Josh King. Yes, Man U have a slightly dicey couple of games. Next 3, they have Brighton, Forest, and Spurs coming up in their next 3. But I do think those are games that the likes of Mbeumo and Bruno could possibly get returns out of. And I like the amount of chances that Mbeumo gets for Manchester United. He also looks nailed on minutes for them. Bruno, as we all know, nailed on minutes. And plays set pieces, is still on penalty duties as well. So he's actually one I have in mind. Up top, I also like the option for Walter Mad, who has 5 goals so far for Newcastle. I am just a bit worried about the possible return of Wisa and benching headache, because we could see Osula come into the starting lineup at any time, right? So that's just one of my worries about getting the Newcastle assets. I also like the idea of getting Gordon for Josh King, but I am just worried about their minutes. I don't want to have to go to check lineups. I need players that are nailed on minutes and have good fixtures, but I still have them at the back of my mind for possible transfers for my last transfer. Or I could just go ahead and do a future transfer and bring in a Crystal Palace asset, Mateta or Ismail Assar, just to target their fixtures from game week 10. I also like the possibility of an Ndiaye in this team. So these I haven't really nailed it down on who I want my secondary, who I want to use my second free transfer on. But these are a couple of players that I have in mind that I am still keeping an eye on, watching out for the press conferences, and still doing a little bit more research on. I may as well roll my transfer if I don't, settle on any particular player. The likelihood of me taking a -4 in this game week is really low, because I do like the way my team is set up. So I don't see any need for it at the moment. But yeah, this is what my team is set up looking like. My captain, like I said, is on Erling Haaland. My vice captain is on Bukayo Saka. And yeah, we're all set for game week 9. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. I'll be posting some updates on what I think I'm going to settle on for my second transfer is on my social media. So if you're new around here, please like, subscribe, and if you enjoyed this video, please share it. The aim for this video is 1,000 likes. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers as well. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next FPL video.